Choose ready.
Moshe Rabbeinu is Musa to Klal Yisrael with emes. And he talks about 7 different averos here. Now, the question is, like, what is he trying to tell me? Microphone.
No mic in there, right? The whole film is should wait. The mic's down. Can you run over to the drill? The mic system. The mic is down in the bitch. Working on it. She was speaking. Right now, we start 2 minutes. Stop. Try to get simple. Simple. It should work. They're trying to get another mic.
The mic for here, not like on the.
There they hear it. Online they hear it.
She can speak. They'll hear it, no?
Huh?
You can go along here for she speaks.
She wants to speak at the other mic. Speak at the other mic.
Can they hear me in the back?
Whoever does, well, whoever can start.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So the averos, we'll talk about what kind of averos they are, but they're not in order. It starts off with, what do you call it, Barova, Bamidbar, the chet of the midbar. Like, what was the chet of the midbar? They wanted food. Gadi should know, not every avera is mentioned here. Name Riva is not here. And the that also should have been mentioned, but it's not. These are trachtoyim that the ways that he has tinies, we got to figure out what these tinies are. So you have to figure out why the order that the Reuven Shlit did. It's definitely not the order that it happened, because the last avera that he gives the word is dissolve, which is the ego. And that happened more or less almost the first. Not quite the first, but almost the first, or the beginning. So, what is the order? Now, you can have different answers. You can make up whatever you feel is important to you. But it can't be the chet itself. The chet itself, you're talking about different types of l'chayra, and the egel is the worst. And at the same token, the first one that gives you musar about is, I said, we didn't have the food. Now, Mei Meriva would have been a different story. But he doesn't even give musar about Mei Meriva. He gives, it sounds like a betochen shaila. And we'll talk about, so what are the points that he's trying to, could be attitude. We have to, when we say vidu ourselves, do you ever think about, you say, chotono ovino poshano, right? Chotosi avisi poshaiti. That's what you say when you say vidu. The three different things. Chotosi is for shogeg, avisi is for mazid, poshaiti is for lahachis. Now you want to kind of, it means I've done all of them, so I'm just, could be one thing. The Gemara says, the Rambam says that you say it, chotosi avisi poshaiti v'osos, and I did this and this thing. So why are you mentioning all three things for? You did a mazid, you did a shogeg, it was a lahachis, what did you do? So you have to think about that possibly any avecha you do usually includes all three. We're not that so much of a shogeg. That pshat is we go out and do, but we did a shogeg. But what's the problem? Why did we do a shogeg? Because on one hand we didn't care. Back. We were mazed not caring. Now being mazed not caring doesn't come into lahachis. But sometimes when don't you care? When you're in that mood, that pshat is I really don't care. That's how you get to do. So really in every chet lays all three attitudes, which is what you do in tshuva for. It's not the chet itself, it's your attitude that caused the chet that caused the problem. And the same thing over here. What are we talking about over here? So Pashtus, we have the first three chatoyim are betochen the chatoyim. Let's see, what were they? Bamidbar, Barova, that's talking about Balpur, and Mulsuf, and going into the Yamsuf. So the machlekes between, we rather don't say Ayin Ches, we say Ayin Tes in these days. But in Ayin Ches, there's Tillim talks about that they assure that they ate asked for food was also a chet. You want to say it's not a chet. Show Kohanim. Mayim show like a bossa show like Kohanim. But bread they ask Kohanim. It's funny machlekes. First of all, Gemara can't agree with Tillim. So Tillim is God's word. So obviously, if he says that the chet is that you didn't that you asked for bread, so you have to know why it is. What did you do wrong? On the other hand, Chazal won't say narishkeit and say they argue. It doesn't make any sense. So I thought about it this way. We eat 3 times a day, right? Why do you eat 3 times a day? That by the time I eat the first time, I don't get hungry until a certain time. Until lunchtime. Lunchtime I eat, I don't get hungry till supper time. You'll say certain days I'm a little hungrier than other days. So that doesn't make too much of a difference. Tisha B'Av you'll find out, right? The difference what being hungry is to not hungry, right? So obviously being hungry another 15 minutes doesn't make much difference. Generally I'm not hungry, that's the pshat. I can eat, I don't mind eating, but I'm not hungry. So now the question becomes, you have to think about it. If somebody will tell you, we eat, let's say, 9 o'clock in the morning. Next time we're going to eat about 1 o'clock. So we eat 9 o'clock, and that should last us to 1 o'clock. And then someone tells us, the cook's not here. He left. Oh, I'm not going to eat lunch, 1 o'clock. When do you get hungry? At 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock? But why are you hungry at 11 o'clock? You have enough food in you to last till 1 o'clock. So why'd you get? Because I don't have the tochen. I'm going to get food at 1 o'clock, so I'm hungry already at 11 o'clock. If I expect food at 1 o'clock, I don't get hungry at 11 o'clock. I get hungry at 1 o'clock. But because I don't expect it, so if you would believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he told you I'm taking care of you, so then you wouldn't get hungry until 1 o'clock. And they got hungry at 11 o'clock. That's the time. They didn't have enough to talk. On the other hand, they didn't get, as long as they had food, that even though that's the mile of the thing, they went out with 30 days worth of food. The one didn't fall till 30 days later that they made their complaint when the food was finished with the shiur that they left from the Korban Pesach that they had in Mitzrayim. That was whatever that lasted for 30 days. They didn't complain. What are we going to do tomorrow when we have no more food left? We're eating our last meal. That they did that no one complained. But the thing is that when we heard of what's going to be now, that's the problem when they have. That's when they first complained. So they had a madrege. So that was the first one. So that l'chayre is okay. It's an inner thing. Real betochen. Until they should have had it, they saw the Nisim and Mitzrayim, they saw everything, they saw the things about, okay, it's hard. That's one threat. Now you got a worse threat than that was Balpur. Well, Balpur, it's not really talking the good thing. It's a type of a chet of, let's say, liberalism. It's an idea of thinking of what you're supposed to do with yourself. As we're human, right? Now, there's certain things, Balpur is a very funny Avodah Zarah. How did you serve Avodah Zarah Balpur? You served it by going to the bathroom in front of it. That's really disgusting, right? I mean, this is the Avodah of Balpur. I mean, it should be some kind of a ceremony, or a beautiful ceremony. This sounds pretty disgusting. How did the people come to do such a thing? It doesn't make any sense, right? And of course, what they told you, what is Balpur really has to do with our eyes, right? If it's natural, it's good, right? The Rebbe made it that you have to be like this. If you made it should be like this, so how do you make laws against it? So therefore, there should be no laws. That's liberalism, right? It's just a question how liberal you want to get. It's basically you're telling me you can't tell me what I can't do because I was made that way. So what do you want from me? Right? You can't have a tiny to me. You can't have a kvisha. I'm a normal Rotsen. Most of the Yitzhak, the harvest, are totally on the things that we were created on to do. Right? Whether it's arayas or eating, right? What's the Yitzhak of eating? I'm hungry. I'd like to have a malted now. I just ate fleishes. All right, what's geschmack of malted? Why shouldn't I have a malted now? Right? I'm not asking your names of what do you call it? Well, because that I don't even know what it tastes like. But to have a malted after your sandwich, that's what you don't mind. Right? So why don't you have it? Because it's also. The Rabbanah said so, right? Okay, if it's also, so why are you having the Yitzhak for it? Elavos. I want it. It's natural. Right? Food is natural. So therefore it's not so bad. That's the thing though. The third one is in the Yistak and Emsa B'tochen, where you're Sakone, you're in the midbar, you don't know what to do. Moshe tells you, go, and you can't go. If you look in the, I think it's another stuff, the actual time it took them to be able to be made with Moshe Rabbeinu, that they thought they could go, could only be dry. Right, we'll go. Dry doesn't mean dry. Dry is mud too. Can't go. Has to be this type, then it has to be real solid. They didn't have that betochen that this is what's going to be. In the end, how did they go into the Yam Suf? Nachshon ben Aminadab jumped in, and he went in until his neck, and all of a sudden the water split, whatever that means. What does that mean? How did that happen then? Why? You didn't do it right away. Let's see how much trust you have now. Did you go back there? So you go. Well, with Nachshon going, what happened? The water wouldn't have split. When he kept going, he would have gone underwater. What's going to happen in the water? That's God's big problem, not mine. I'm going because God said go. So I went. But the you have a fear. That fear is it. So each one is a matreye of maybe two, and money you want this, and money you want this, and money you want this. And the second thing would be the concepts of kofu toifa, and the worst one is the ego. And these are things that we have to learn to understand in our own selves, which musar we need to hear first. That's the point. We're talking about different types of averos that person does. What caused me to do this avera? What caused me to do this avera? And all of a sudden you'll see differences in yourself. Why? Some are some betochen, some are some of kofu toifa, which is the ones with the gold and stuff. Those will be kofu toifa. Others will be stamazay, hashkofa. But there's different reasons why a person is chayte. And he has to always analyze himself to understand, why am I being a chayte? And by doing that, then you have a chance of being able to fight it. If I don't even understand why I'm doing the chayte, so how are you going to fight it? So therefore you have to understand these things. That's what Pshat of Moshe. And I say, it doesn't, what I say doesn't make a difference. It's what you got to go through the averos and Rashi, and you can go according to Rashi's type of averos, and then analyze it into yourself and to see what applies to you. Okay. Then, Achados Yom. Als een goede spreken we So Rashi brings down 11 days, but really they did in 3 days, and they could have gone to Eretz Yisrael in 3 days. But once the Chatoim started, they kept getting delayed and delayed until they were Chayim in Morocco. And that lasted for 40 years. But the Chatchila, they would have gone in right away. They would have gone right after Matan Torah, they should have gone right into Eretz Yisrael. So why didn't they? And the boss, he did Diego. Okay, Diego, after 40 days he came down. Diego. Okay, for that he had to have another 40 days of Shlias, right? And then he came down. And but he needed 80 days. He needed another 80 days. He needed 40 of Beniman and then 40 of the Kabbalah, the second Kabbalah. Then after that happened, you ended up with what do you call it? By the morning. But then they built the Mishkan, and the Mishkan lasted all the way until Nisan. Right? The winter took till Chanukah, but after that Rebbeinu didn't want to put up the Mishkan. Then they came to what do you call it? Kibbutz HaTaiva, that they came in there. So all of a sudden, the Rebbeinu he asked he wants a Sanhedrin. So Benjamin points to Sanhedrin. And when Nadab comes in, and all of a sudden, what's her name? Miriam is his, Tzipor is talking about Oivei, that the Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't live with her anymore. So all of a sudden, they wait no, and Miriam is chayte, and they wait another 47 days over there. Keep until they got to a Maragman. So you say, so what? And you say there what he got before? No, the longer it takes to get to something, the weaker you become. The desire, the weaker, what you're looking forward to, all of a sudden gets weakened because it's postponed. So all of a sudden, then you're hunted. That's the problem. So that happened, that we would have done it right away, would have been there right away. But we didn't. That's the problem. Now, of course, the Rebbeinu causes these things to happen. It's not that we weren't really ready. Then he talks about so like, why is he talking now? So as he says, like, I can't mon you unless I first do something for you. So you saw I brought you into Eretz Yisrael, and so we took care of 2 big countries. Now I can talk to you about Musa. Till now you talk about you didn't do anything for me, so what do you need Musa for? But once you did for me, then you can give me Musa. We also understand the Chet, or the Bakoshi of Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshas Vesrana. He was in Spalo 515 times that maybe the Rebbeinu changed his mind. What would give him the Havamim that the Rebbeinu changed his mind? He was in Eretz Chayim. That's not going to impress me. Tzichan is good thoughts. It happens to be that Reuven and God asked for it, and the Rebbeinu was masking, so it became Eretz Yisrael. But that doesn't make it that was Eretz Yisrael, it became into Eretz Yisrael. But who killed Oig? Moshe Rabbeinu killed Oig. And where did he kill him? He killed him at Drei. In Parshas it seems that Drei is part of the Malchus of From here it's much like that. Yeshiv Bashtois B'Drei. And he lived in Edrei, even though in the Devarim it says, in Vitamin it says, he went out to Edrei. Whatever it is. But anyway, it's somewhere around that area. Now the mention of that Eretz Oig is Eretz Orphoim. If you look in Parshas Lechlecha, when he promises the 10 lands, there are the only one that's not promised to us that we got is the Chivi. Where they come from, we got to figure out. Right? You already have the 6 nations. The Keni, Knizi, Kadmoni is 9, and the Rephoim is 10. But you don't have Chivi at all. Yet it's Sheka Umis includes Chivi. So where did Chivi come from? So Chivi happens to be Alseya, which is Edrei. And the Etzem, that should be Keni, Knizi, Kadmoni. In the end of time. So how do we get Zion in Umis when we attack Eretz Yisrael? Okay, the Goshen left, so but there were still 6 left. When we say that, and the Chivi is one of them, because in Vayishlach it says that Esau left Mipnei Ya'akov Ochiv. So he says, why did he leave? Because he didn't want to go down to Mitzrayim. In other words, if you want to have the Chivi, which was the Chivi? The Chivi Shechem was the Chivi, the Gevoinim are Chivi. So those guys were going for the Chivi, which really should have been Esau's Chivi. But that Chelik of Esau was in Eretz Yisrael, what is around the Mishpei Kamidishtan. And for that you got to go to Mitzrayim for it. You don't want to go to Mitzrayim. So he left it for Klal Yisrael, so we were able to take it right away. We didn't have to wait till Achis HaYom. Let's see there. Yeah. Then it says, וישוע סוף ששניך בהשם לביסיכם ואברהם ויצחק ליעקב בוסס להם. In the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Kriyas HaMeisim HaTorah Menayim. You bring different psukim. It's not definitely this posik, because this posik comes several times in the Torah, so it doesn't quote actually this one. But over here, but it's the same posik. Lohem lo iksiv, and lochem lo iksiv, lohem iksiv. In other words, it should have said that I swore to give them to you the land. Because what state in Lechucha, really the Benishah wanted to give, I'm giving you the land now. It says the Benishah came, I gave it by the Brisbane Absorbent, that I'm the one that gave you the land. I took you out of a Kazdim, was is L'chos Ha'oretz Hazois. I'll read you the posuk in a minute. ויאמר השם, ויאמר לו ואני השם אשר הוציאך מארץ מצרים, לא אעשה לכם הארץ הזאת. So I'm giving it to you, to Avram, right? And they're talking, and then the Benishim says, ויאמר לו אברהם, יודע תדע, כי גר יהיה זרעך בארץ לא אלוהם, 400 שנה. We're going to be in Chutzor for 400 years. Now when is that 400 years going to start? He gave it to Avram, so when is the 400 years going to start? When Ya'akov goes down to Mitzrayim, right? But I don't want it to be 400 years from Ya'akov going down to Mitzrayim, right? I wanted to start the El Lohem. From where it says 3 things that it says of El Lohem, V'yov Avodum, V'inu three madregas. Well, so the first thing is Eretz Lohem. So that could be even in Eretz Canaan. So therefore the baby Avram says, I don't want to take the land now. It's not kedai for me, because if I take the land down, my kid's got to be in Mitzrayim for another 190 years. I wanted to start from the birth of Yitzchak, where therefore he'll be in Eretz Lohem. Vayom hahu koras Hashem es Avram b'lis leima l'zarachon l'sati solot hazoyim. He accepted that, and he gave it to Zarachon. So Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov never got the land, right? And since he promised to give it to them, right? Lohem, lochem, loiksiv, lohem, ksiv. He said, I'm going to give it to them, so there has to be three samis. How else is he going to give it to them? U'v'neihem achareim. That's what it says over here, to the children after them. Doesn't mean you have to die again. I thought really that maybe, what do we got to go to live through? Die again? Doesn't make any sense. So you look in the Gemara, doesn't mashmeh. You can go after you finish whatever it is, after Mashiach, whatever it is, or after three samesim, and you finish your tafkid, you go into Olam Haba. Which is an interesting thing, the Rambam in Peg Tess, I'm not sure, mentions that Olam Haba is not something that will be created in the future. It's now, it exists now. He said, why is it called Olam Haba? Because we're not going to go to the air until we finish with Olam Hazeh. But medicine, it exists now. So if you go to Pirkei Avos, that says there that Kol Olam Hazeh, Kol Olam Achas Olam Haba is worth all of Olam Hazeh. So that means that all the Niftorim are in Olam Haba now, right? Why would we go back to Three Samesim? It doesn't make any sense to me. If we hold them in Gan Eden, another Madrega, okay, so I can say, in Gan Eden, you have to go to Olam Haba, then you have to make a stop over back again to Three Samesim. Or if I'm already in Olam Haba, why am I going back to Three Samesim? And that's not one. And then I think what the world is what the person is trying to tell us, why do we have Three Samesim? And let's understand, we're starting with Avram, right? So how long is he going to be in Three Samesim? Because one of Bneihem Achareihem, that means we don't get the land until all the doires from Avram to us are finished. With their chelik in Olam Haba, right? And then we first get the land ourselves. So that's a long time, l'chayra. So like l'chayra, why? So this is what I think. In a way, we have a taina. What's our taina? You know why we're so bad? We're born in Golos, have all the taivas in the world in front of us, all the shmuts, all the technology, everything else, money, Baruch Hashem, He gave us. With freedom, we can do all our virus. What's going to keep us there? It's unfair. In Eretz Yisrael, the Devarim Rishonos, what did He do? He took them to Eretz Yisrael. He made a Beis HaMikdash for them. He gave them Eretz Yisrael. He gave them Kedusha. He gave them Beis HaMikdash. He gave them Nevi'im. They can do Yifrum. But us, what do you want from us? Right? So it's a problem. And it's also interesting to note that if you look at the Psukim, you look at Zayin, the Rishonos, and the Psukim, and that's put on the Pirkei Avos, in the last parak, is that Three Samesim is only for Bnei Torah and people that help them. That could be Balabatim, but Balabatim that help them. In other words, Moise Isha, Moise Bita, the Talmud Chochem, the Tanosim, the Pragmatia for Talmud Chochem, things of that sort. Olam Haba is a Gemara Brachos. Gemara in Tchias HaMeisim is Gemara Ksubis. So there are two different Gemaras. There are two different ends, there are two different points. The one is the Noshim B'may Zachyon, that's Brachos. That's what gives them. But in Ksubis is Anan B'may Zachyon. The Amoyroyim are talking. How are we Zoiche? What do you mean, how are you Zoiche? You're trying to trace a mason. What's your problem? You're a big tzaddik. What do you think there? No, you ought to be a Talmud Chacham for it. You have to be this. That's what the Gemara calls out to show him. What gives us trace a mason? So why would I want trace a mason? Trace a mason will do for me. So I'll give you a motion. I guess the Talmud Chacham would be called the pet of the Rabbeinu Shalom. In other words, who does he like in the world? His Talmidei Chachamim, or guys who help Talmidei Chachamim. That's the Ikos, the Talmud Keleged Kulo. This is it. This is what the purpose of life is. So it's us, right? You think that. But we're not doing too hard. We're not the greatest tzaddikim. We do a lot of things that are wrong, right? But we have a time that's not fair. So then he says, so I'll give you a motion and a teacher, right? A Rebbe, okay? He has a kid that's a good kid, always learns, gets 100 in every test. Right? Meredith. One time the kid gets a 70, right? So what does the Rebbe say? Just marks it down? Well, he says something wrong. This kid always gets 100, all of a sudden he got a 70. What happened to him? Right? He calls him in, he says, I noticed you got a 70, what happened? My mother's in the hospital, and my father lost his job. And I was too busy and I couldn't study. Right? So the Rebbe asked, man, now what's the matziv? He says, now Baruch Hashem, my mother came home, my father got a new job. You think you can take a retest on the thing there next week? Yeah, sure. I'll take it. He test studies and he gets 100. Which mark is going to go on the report card? The 100 or the 70? So obviously the 100, because that's him. The 70 wasn't him. It wasn't him. The same thing the patient does for his pets, for us. You guys didn't live with the Beis HaMikdash. You didn't live with anything. Okay? I'm sending Mashiach. Mashiach is going to bring back the Beis HaMikdash. He's going to bring no more Shibud Golis. I'll make Tchias HaMeisim for you. You know, you're going to have a Beis HaMikdash with Malchus and Nevi'im and everything else. So there's no more Yetzer Haras for this. Let's see where you go. How fast, where you going to go? You get 100? Okay, you got to remember 100. So you'll ask me, so what's shot this if I'm at the radius and stuff? So first of all, it could be talking about the talking about Talmidei Chacham who have hundreds, who knows? But I can't answer you. But I could say, Poshit, the Yetzer Hara of laziness still exists. The Yetzer Hara of Taiva, the Goliath, the Gaiva, that doesn't exist anymore. But laziness exists. You know, leave me alone. I want to rest now. I want to chill out a little bit. So that thing still exists. And those are big averas. Okay. Then he says, okay, is what's called the, like in other words, the Taineh that they didn't want Moshe Rabbeinu to be the judge. They wanted a Sanhedrin, they wanted this, but for a different motive. They didn't want it because it should go easy, you should have a lot of, different basically Patsky, we don't have to wait for Moshe Rabbeinu, stuff like that. He wanted it because he figured, I know the guy, he'll give me a break. He'll have to like me because he's my friend. That's also. I think. So that's the one, it's the issue over there. And then it says, then he also gave him a bracha, she should be, Kirch Vashmaim, that Rabbein Shem Shdivi Elef Panonim, Yosef Aleichem Elef Panonim, Yivoch Esam Kashati Belochem. Rabbein Shem give you a bracha like he saw. So Rashi brings down that there are two brachas. Them is Shali, Elef Panonim is Shali, and the rest, how great God will make you, that's with Rabbeinu Shalom. So why does he give you the first one? What does it mean? What is he trying to teach you with that? When someone asks you for a bracha, and you give the bracha, or you give a bracha without being asked, you have to give a bracha that you at least can imagine that it's shaykh. If you can't imagine it, then what are you giving it? Doesn't mean anything. Leave a million years. What does that mean? Right? So Moshe Rabbeinu said, let's say there was about 3-4 million people at that time, counting the women. There were 600,000 men between 20 and 60. But there was men over 60 and then under 20, and also all the women that didn't die in the mikvah. So you have about 3 to 4 million people. Elef Pa'amim makes it 3-4 billion people. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu can imagine 3-4 billion people. It's not just imagining 3-4 billion people. And that can imagine 8 billion people in the world. I mean, I don't see them, I don't know them, right? But I hear there's 8 billion people in the world. I don't seem to be shocked about it. But I really don't have a sogi either, right? But it means 3 million, 4 million people with yeshivas. How much money do you have to support the yeshivas? How many Talmidei Chacham you're going to need to run to be rabbis in the yeshiva, in the shul and stuff like that. All of these things, the Moshe Rabbeinu has to imagine it's an am. It's not just people. It's an am that you have. So he can imagine 3-4 billion people. He can't imagine more than that. So therefore, it's Mishali. The Rabbeinu Shem should give you to take Vashimayim Morim. Now, I really don't know how many stars there are, and I don't know how many kafarot we are. When we're kafarot in Kirch Vashimayim, but Google claims that there are 70,000 stars for every stop, for every grain of sand or something like that. I don't remember what their numbers was, but something that you just can't imagine it. So that's up there. Yeah, that's up there. Where? And where's the place? That's not your business. That's the big world up there. Okay, but that's how many stars they have. You have, then the tells you you should point Sanhedrin, and they pass in the dinim. It gives you a whole bunch of things that you have to bring. You upon him, can't show favoritism, right? You have to pass in the same din, whether you talk about $1 billion, you're talking about a quarter. Okay, don't be afraid of anybody. Why? Because mishpat belongs to God. So the Machlik is showing here, it's not negate, but we'll take a Rashi. Rashi says, what's mishpat lo mean? Means says that if you don't pass in the right way, then you threw the din on the Reuven Shlit. It's interesting when he tells you that, this lotion. Ma she'atel neitel mizeh sheloi kidin, ata maskikani laharzeloi, nem she'tisa l'ayis hamishpat. That means you can never cheat anybody in this world. Can't. Why? Because everything, all it, according to Rashi, the Rambam is maybe always not, doesn't really treat it. I'm not going to go into that. But Rashi says the Farish in Eikev, what is it? Mashem Shomim Choki'im L'Yira. And he teaches that the Gemara and Brachas Kipshutai, Ki'im L'Yira means that all you have is Yira. What will happen is not up to you. That's up to the Reuven Shlit. About whether it will happen because you wanted to do it or not do it, that's up to you. That's up to you. What will happen, that's already in the Reuven Shlit. So according to that, you can't harm anybody except with the Rotzen of the Baruch. Same thing goes in, why is sinas chinam? Or what is sinas chinam? There's only one sinas chinam. There's only one heter to hate. And the heter is to hate, and you saw somebody hate a rayis, then I have a right to hate him. Anybody else, I have no right to hate. What are you talking about? The guy robbed me. He stole my business. He made my kid go off the derech. He stole my wife. I shouldn't hate him for that. Right? I don't hate somebody for nothing. I got a good reason for hating him. Why are you calling it sinas chinam? That's called sinas chinam. Marvelous if you deal with Sochim, if you're interested. And Rashi is very clear, Lamed Beis in Shabbos. Okay. And you see there, and sinas chinam, it tells you it's very clear. Only by this type of mice, I did all, because the rest of it, that the guy is successful in stealing your business is because you should have lost your business. The Reuven wants you to lose your business. He's only a shliach. If he wouldn't have done it, it would have happened anyway. He would have lost his business. But he was willing to do it, so I let him do it. So I'll give you a morsel, like for instance. You'll say, no, that's not why I hate the person. I don't hate him for what he accomplished. I hate him for his rotzen alone. Okay, could be, maybe you're right. So then I know. So you remember the old type fans? Very big fans, 36 inches, 3 feet, that's 36 inches. Right, it's oscillating fan, that means it moves to side, and it was a tremendous kayach that when it actually blew at you, wow, So somebody wanted to throw a glass of water in my face, right? And he did it. But when he threw it was punkt the time when the fan came behind me. So it blew the water back in his face, right? So what happens? Everybody starts to laugh, right? Because he wanted to harm you, and then he got harmed himself. And then he says to you, please be merchant. I see God didn't want me to do it. You'll be laughing. So of course you're merchant, man. No, you wanted to throw water at me, you wanted to insult me. I'm not merchant. You're not going to say that, because you see, it's not the rotzen. It's the thing itself that bothers you, that he threw water at me. So you should know that the Yeshua wants to embarrass you, you're going to throw water in your face from somebody. If not, you're going to trip and fall face forward into a puddle of water and look like a joke, and everybody's going to laugh at you just as much. All right? Because prevention wants to make a result out of you. And that's what's going to happen. He volunteered to throw water in your face, so therefore I don't have to go do the other thing. So the Inki comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's you have no right to sin, and the sin is not, that's that prevention want to do that. Thank you. Here in the, you want to say something here. Something that in Shulchan Aruch find out an interesting halacha in Chumash Shiur. Now, if two guys come to a bezdin, the bezdin is supposed to convince them not to ask for din, but to do a pshara. What are you talking about? I want din. I want those psharas. I'm going to lose half my money, son. No, you have to go pshara. Now, pshara doesn't mean I say, you owe me $1 million. I don't owe you anything. Pay me $500,000. That's not a pshara. It's a gazelle for $500,000. That doesn't mean it. Pshara means two people think they're right, and the way they understood it. And we can understand they understood it that way. After Peking, there's only one way that's the right. There, you go for pshara. Why? So finally Gemara says, David Melech used to paskin a shayla. How do you paskin din Torah? He would make the loser pay the winner, and then he himself would pay the loser. So nobody lost. The only one that lost was David Melech. Yes, he had a lot of money, so it didn't make a difference. But the Maisa, the only one that lost was David Melech. Doesn't make any sense. Why did he do that for? Because everybody thought they were right. But I have to tell you what the right thing is. And after Peking, I don't want you to feel bad that you lost, that you were toyous, whatever it is, so I gave you the money. So I hold that what the Chumash Shiur is talking about is these psukim, is Rashi, that you can't harm anybody. So therefore, what the Beis is saying, normally we don't throw the mishpat on the person, on God. Why? Because otherwise, if you can throw the mishpat on God, why should I get the guy to be angry with me? Right? Why should I, if I got caught in I'm afraid of him, so why should I slow up with him? Right? God's going to give the guy anyway back the money. Who cares? Why have to slow up? So I'll pass him the way you did. What's the difference? Right? No one's going to lose. Right? So, L'chayre tells your name. You mechuyev to paskin emes. That's your job in this world, to paskin emes. So what's the pshara for then? Pshara is for shalom. Right? But pshara somehow, people can, once they hear the other side, they can accept it. Like let's say the classic case in the Gemara, which is $1 a month, $12 a year rent. Right? So the guy, the renter, the lessee, the guy who's renting it, thinks it means he's giving him a bargain. Right? It's $1 a month, but on an eBay, it's only going to cost you $12. And the guy who's the landlord says, that's not what I meant. I meant $1 a year, and I'm just kailul that it's only $12 a year on a normal year. But on an eBay, it's $13. Who's right? Can't prove it. So the din is the music ones. The music doesn't mean you're right, by the way. All the music means is, since there's no more raya, I can't take the money away from you. But it's not a din that you're right. Could it be that we understood it this way, could be understood this way. But Liyatzur says the renter, they know it's the guy who's renting the apartment understood it, that he's getting an extra month free. And the landlord understood it, that he's going to pay him every single month. We can understand that to be true, right? Even the landlord can understand that the other guy could have uptyped his words that way. And the other guy can understand that the landlord only meant this. So when I say to make it sure, split it, each one says, so I hear. Okay, so something wasn't clear, so we'll split it. Right? So we're able to makabel it. So what do we have? We have shalom. What's the tachlis of din in the world? Shalom is the tachlis. So we won't give a shalom. We lost, each one of us lost, according to half an hour, that the Rebbeinu will take care of. The Rebbeinu, we said, to give it back to you. So he gives it back to us. He gives it both of us. We'll get back the money that's missing. And we have a right to use that because we're not passing the fal shalocha. We're making shalom, which is the tachlis of mishpat. So therefore we can rely that he'll do that, he'll give it back. And the people that he tried that could also help, maybe convince the people, you won't lose. Well, then will give each one back his money, be documented. Just thing to think of the Rebbeinu promised us soil. He promised Esau whatever he promised Esau. He promised them. I'm an Moav. So how could Shicha take it from Moav? I mean, the Rebbeinu promised it to him, so it's his. Right? I only promise it until it's taken from you. That's why I think if you go through the Rebbeinu, they bring in the psukim kashosa to Bnei Yisrael, kashosa l'seir, and also kashosa l'avim. And the kafta, it says, kashosa l'bnei Yisrael hayeshem l'seir, asher is right. L'avim hayeshem l'chatzerim harazo, hayeshem tarta, kafreim hayeshem kafta. Why are you mentioning them for? What have they got to do with anything? The boss, nobody takes over anything unless I want it, and the bench wants it. Right? It doesn't happen unless the bench wants it. But he's telling you that the want is as long as I gave it. You finish, you lost it after I gave it to you, it's gone. And therefore it's gone. Therefore, even though it was right away, it was the Melech Harishon was there. The Melech Harishon was, he beat him there. Melech Harishon. They took from him that land, from the Melech Harishon, that he took from him that land right away. So it's right away he took the land from him. After he came, it's already mutter for just for Klal Yisrael to take it. Eretz Oig, that's part of Eretz Yisrael. That was, I think, I don't remember if I finished with Veschanim before. That was the point. So he was not so much about Eretz Sichon. He was in Eretz Oig, and Edrei, that the pshat is that he thought maybe Boko HaNeder, that the Rebbeinu is going to let him go in. Now, because he let me go into what's Eretz Yisrael, so if you let me go into Eretz Yisrael, maybe you let me go into Yadin also, in the Mamishud. We then give a part of Eretz Yisrael. But that part, which is the Refoyim, that part was really part of Eretz Yisrael with Chila. That's the thing. And that's the Indian of where the extra half says 2.5 Shvatim took a Vayardin, right? Reuven and God and Chotzi Shevet Menashe. Where did Chotzi Shevet Menashe come from? Reuven and God had a lot of sheep. Right? Chotzi Shevet Menashe doesn't say anything about them. All of a sudden you find you're taking all, and they're taking how much? You think, wow. You ever take a look at the maps? You have a picture that's called the Chotzi Shevet Menashe, only Chotzi Shevet Menashe. It's so big. It's bigger than who knows what. Like, how's that possible? Elavos, the Eretz Yisrael is divided, Beis Kur connected Beis Kur. So obviously it's not Eretz Chol B'Dvash, which is Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi says in Bikurim that you don't bring Bikurim Feiva Yardin. So the Gemara asks why. If it's because it says, "Oh, Sati Bochem," and Reuven God took it themselves, so therefore it's only from Reuven God, from Menashe you bring. But if it's because it's not Eretz Chol B'Dvash, you wouldn't bring from Menashe either. So Mashma, it's poor land. It's not. You can build cities there, but it's not a place of farming and stuff. So therefore, they're taking learn that the Bnei Yosef loved Eretz Yisrael. You bring the Rashi brings it from the Meisrafcha, but Menashe is the biggest line. In other words, when do you throw a gero? You throw a gero and everybody wants it, right? So everybody wants it. It's always called the bush. I want that. But throw a gero. This is not a service called the bush. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wants it. It's Eretz Yisrael. We'll take it. And that's the Chotzi Shevet Menashe. That comes from Avos. And we have a good Shabbos, everybody.